before we get started, I'm only going to do 5 minutes because we had a whole press briefing with Caroline, and I don't want to.
Stephen, can you just give us a sense of how long is this temporary pause on federal funding? How long is this pause going to last?
Well, the terms of the executive order is 90 days, but it's important to understand that it's a review process to say that there's for discretionary spending that's not directed by Congress or required by law. So this would be, for example, something like a contract to a non-governmental organization to teach, say, critical race theory, that there has to be a politically appointed individual in the departments or agencies who simply reviews and approves the expenditure so that we have control, democratic control over the operations of government. This doesn't affect any federal programs that Americans rely on, full stop.
It's not going to have any impact on any Americans and what they rely on?
Any program, like a benefit program that Americans rely on.
Like Meals on Wheels?
Correct. There's no, the OMB guidance document, which I think you're referring to, because the executive order was issued a week ago, it just gives clarity on how to implement the original executive order, which doesn't cover any entitlement or public benefit spending at all. And that's clear, by the way, if you read, as I'm sure you have, the OMB guidance document.
About El Salvador. So we know that the president spoke to President Bukele. Next week, Secretary Rubio will be in El Salvador. Should we be expecting El Salvador to take the Tren de Aragua Venezuelans as an agreement between the two countries?
All I can say on this, because I don't want to get ahead of Senator Rubio, is that the President Bukele has graciously offered tremendous degrees of cooperation with the United States on all things migration, and we're hoping that will provide a framework for migration cooperation all throughout the region. And I think it's very clear that President Bukele is going to be a very great and strong partner for this administration and for the United States.
And how does getting Venezuela into El Salvador? Because I mean, right now we don't have relationships with Venezuela.
Well, it is our full expectation that Maduro will accept all flights of TDA gang members back to Venezuela. Yes.
Is the Trump immigration method applicable to Europe? Europe has a huge immigration problem. Is that method of deportation, repatriation applicable to the continent of Europe?
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking, should Europe consider mirroring our own policies?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
How?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's simple. I mean, you have to establish a policy that says that anyone who crosses the border is going to be immediately repatriated, that anyone in the country illegally is subject to removal, of course, prioritizing public safety and national security, as well as we've done, is a general matter, suspending refugee resettlement, which, of course, poses enormous burdens on local communities and populations.
Getting back to just on the tariff administration is with countries from South America, as Brazil, for example, in this deportation flight.
Oh, deeply engaged. So, look, it's the president's expectation that countries all across the world participate fully in the enforcement of immigration laws, and in particular in the repatriation of their own citizens. This is a basic international obligation. The United States abides by, all developed nations abide by, and we expect all of the partner nations all throughout the region to abide by as well. And we've had incredibly productive conversations with, frankly, nations all across Latin America, led by Secretary of State Rubio, who, if I may say, has done an absolutely fabulous job.
How do you know that Maduro will take TDA members
that are supposed to take effect on, or to be announced on February 1st? Can you just walk us through how you expect that to happen? The president has talked about 25% on Mexico.
I don't want to get ahead of the president. I will let him speak for himself on any tariff announcements. The bottom line is that the United States is going to have a trade policy that brings our manufacturing jobs back and that doesn't allow any other countries to exploit us.
Do you think that about Canada, please?
Can you give us a...
just to be clear, because I don't want to step on Caroline's briefing, so I'll do 3 more questions of this being the first of the story.
Do you expect those tariffs?
Hold on,
Do you expect the tariffs to take effect immediately?
I want to defer to Andrea just to finish.
Well, no, I don't have anything else to add to that subject, so I just want to go here.
All right, my question is on numbers. Can you give us a sense, an exact figure of how many people have been brought up in the ICE raid so far, and how many you're expecting to do?
Well, ICE has published the daily numbers. I just did an interview with Jake Tapper, and he talked about the new targets that have been set, which is really a floor. I mean, to put this in perspective, I think in Biden's worst month in office, there was almost 350,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. So it gives you a sense of the scale of work that we have to do here. So we're going to continue to set ever more ambitious targets. But again, we're going to really focus in on public safety threats, understanding that you can't have a situation as a nation where, say, in Biden's last month in office, if he releases 100,000 illegals into the country, what, they just all get to stay here for life, forever? Because they came in December of 2020, and now it's a lifetime pass, and of course you can't have a nation run that way. But we're going to focus on public safety and national security. All right,
About Canada.
The Egyptian media today quoted a senior official that there was no call between President Trump and President Sisi. The president yesterday said on Air Force One that he has spoken to Sisi and asked him to take some of the population of Gaza.
Yeah, President Trump is correct, but any more questions on this, I want to refer to Mike Walsh. All right, last one.
Would you be willing to preview the EOs that we should expect for the rest of the week?
I would love to, but I will let the comms and press team do that. I want to thank you all for your time, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Can you tell us if WIC will be?
Thank you.
Can you just tell us if WIC will be impacted?
Thank you, Press.
WIC, yes or no? Will it be
No public
impacted?
benefit program.
Okay, thank you.